Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to invite you to take a moment, take a breath, and join me in gently reflecting on how we can live with more peace by bringing the teachings of the Buddha into our daily lives. Today's theme is right action. The focus of today's discussion is right action, one of the elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. This teaching offers practical guidance on how we should conduct ourselves and what kinds of actions we should choose in our daily lives. In Buddhism, the root of human suffering and distress is often seen as ignorance, a state in which we fail to see or understand things clearly. Because of this ignorance, we sometimes end up taking actions that harm both ourselves and others. To correct such behavior, the Buddha laid out a path, and one part of that path is the practice of right action. Put simply, right action means behaving in a morally appropriate way, but it goes beyond simply trying to be a good person. In the conventional sense, in Buddhist practice, right action begins with the avoidance of harmful deeds. So what kinds of actions are considered harmful and should be avoided? Broadly speaking, they fall into three main categories. First, refraining from taking life. This means not needlessly harming or killing any living being, including not just humans, but also animals and even insects. It speaks to cultivating a heart of compassion for all forms of life. Second, abstaining from stealing, that is, not taking what is not freely given, and not gaining through dishonest or unjust means. Third, avoiding improper sexual conduct, which includes refraining from actions that break trust or damage others' relationships. Following these principles not only prevents harm to others, but also brings peace to our own hearts. When our actions cause regret or inconvenience others, it unsettles our inner world. Practicing right action helps us to build harmonious relationships and also to cultivate a stable and calm mind. Let me share with you a well-known story related to the Buddha that beautifully illustrates this concept. There was once a man named Angulimala. He was an intelligent young man who originally aspired to a life of study and wisdom. However, due to a tragic chain of events, he became a murderer, eventually taking the lives of 999 people. As he sought his 1,000th victim, he encountered the Buddha. The Buddha stood calmly in his path, unafraid, looking straight at him. Angulimala, bewildered, raised his weapon and tried to reach the Buddha. But no matter how fast he ran, he could not catch up. Although the Buddha seemed still, he always remained just out of reach. In frustration, Angulimala cried out, "Stop!" The Buddha replied, "I have already stopped. It is you who have not yet stopped." These words struck deep into Angulimala's heart. He realized how he had been driven by anger and desire. At that moment, he cast aside his weapon, became a disciple of the Buddha, and eventually transformed into a respected monk with a pure heart. This story reminds us of the essence of right action. Even those who have committed grave wrongs can change through their actions and thus transform their hearts. And importantly, it shows that right action begins with stopping, pausing before being swept away by impulse or desire and taking time to reflect. In our own lives, we are often faced with choices. When we feel anger toward someone, do we lash out in the heat of the moment, or do we take a breath and choose a more constructive response? When we are tempted to gain unfair advantage, do we act dishonestly or choose honesty and integrity? These everyday decisions shape who we are. Right action doesn't always bring instant rewards, but even when no one is watching, choosing to act in a way that aligns with our conscience brings about a quiet yet powerful shift within us. Small acts of goodness, repeated over time, lead to profound peace and trust. Buddhism also teaches the principle of karma, the cycle of cause and effect generated by our actions. Good actions bring good results, and harmful actions bring harm not only after death, but here and now. When we act with compassion, we leave a warm impression in others' hearts. When we betray others, we invite distrust in return. That is why right action is more than a moral concept. It is a guiding principle for how to live a meaningful life. In today's world, we also encounter opportunities to practice right action in the digital space on social media and the internet. What we say and do online, just like in real life, affects others and eventually reflects back on us. Whether we use harsh, hurtful words, under the veil of anonymity, or engage in constructive and kind communication, this too is a field for practicing right action. The same applies in the workplace. In competitive environments, will we step on others to succeed, or will we strive, honestly expressing our abilities with integrity? Though dishonesty might seem advantageous in the short term, in the long run, right action builds lasting trust. Within our families and friendships as well, right action is essential. It means keeping our promises, acting with consideration, and speaking truthfully. These may seem like simple things, but in the hustle of everyday life, we often neglect them. Yet it is these small acts, repeated with care, that form the foundation of strong human bonds. It's important to remember that we need not be perfect. As humans, we will make mistakes. We may act emotionally or make poor decisions from time to time. But rather than dwelling in guilt, it's crucial to learn from these experiences and say, next time I will choose better. Even the Buddha himself, before attaining enlightenment, walked a long and difficult path of practice. He was not born a perfect sage, but someone who experienced doubt and suffering like us, and through those struggles, gained wisdom. That's what makes his teachings accessible and practical for us today. Another vital point in practicing right action is to be aware of our motivation. The same outward behavior can carry vastly different meanings, depending on the intention behind it. For example, helping someone out of genuine care is not the same as doing so to seek praise or favor. Right. Action considers not only the act itself, but also the mind that gives rise to it. This doesn't mean we must have pure intentions to act well. On the contrary, even if our motives are not entirely selfless, at first, continuing to act rightly can eventually purify our minds. Our actions shape our hearts, and our hearts shape our actions. This dynamic interplay lies at the heart of practicing right action. In today's society, where individualism often takes center stage, the teaching of right action reminds us of our interconnectedness with others. It's not just about what benefits us, but about being mindful of how our actions affect those around us. That is the core of living in alignment with right action. Moreover, this teaching has implications for environmental issues as well. Having compassion for all life means caring for nature and striving to live sustainably. The way we consume, use energy, and choose our food, all of these everyday decisions can become acts of right action. Finally, I want to emphasize that practicing right action is not a burden. In fact, choosing the path of righteousness lightens the heart and enriches our lives. The fleeting gain from deception pales in comparison to the lasting joy that arises from living with sincerity and integrity. In conclusion, right action is a guide to living in a way that respects life, honors others' rights, and maintains pure relationships. Through this, we cultivate inner peace, offering kind words to someone, lending a hand to a person in need, or choosing honesty. In a small moment, each of these is an expression of right action. And above all, we must remember perfection is not required. All of us make mistakes, but each time we pause, reflect, and commit to better choices, we walk the path that the Buddha envisioned for us, a path grounded in right action. That's all for today. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments section. Wishing you a peaceful and fulfilling day. Thank you for watching. Until next time, may your heart be at peace.